the psychology that I'm coming back to want to practice, to write about, and writing is a big part of it, that you want to spread, is the psychology that intervenes at that level. That we have multiple traumas, chronic multiple traumas. It's not at the individual level only, and it's the neighborhood, the families, the neighborhood, it's black people. And you don't have that psychology. You have parts of it. The community psychology is an attempt to do that. Right here on my desk, I have several of these, but let me just reach over here. So this book here, I mean, this is Fanon, right? This is Fanon. So Fanon has influenced the book that I wrote, this book, The World Looks Like This. I mean, I do mention him, but in many other ways. But I was mentioning a book like this, Community Psychology. One of the editors here is my colleague. But I also have a chapter in this on precisely what I'm talking about, this new psychology that we're trying to build. We're calling it, you might see this, we're calling it an African-centered community psychology. So we have taken the community, we've infused it with African-centeredness. That's what we do.
The native has always known that he need expect nothing from the other side. The settler's work is to make even dreams of liberty impossible for the native. The native's work is to imagine all possible methods for destroying the settler.
So let me go back right there. Fanon was one of the earliest people where you find resources. Why? Fanon at some point was a psychiatrist, right? And realized this is not working. This is, unless you fix the colonial condition, you will not be able to help the Algerians and then the Tunisians and the Ghanaians and all in the colonized situation. So basically he saw this in the 40s and the 50s, and Fanon saw that, oh wow, okay. Basically I have to, all the pathologies within societies, specifically within black life, were due to the colonial condition. So he goes, lives then in France after he's and starts joining basically the movement against colonialism in Algeria. Now I want to say something about this. Books like this. It's called The Social Psychology of Race Relations, right? The Social Psychology of Race Relations. You would think this would be a good book, but the chances are it needs to be rewritten. A book like this, I think. I haven't read this one. So the title is great, but I suspect. Here's another one. Racial and ethnic. Oh, David Colbeck did some good work. So this one is a promising book. It covered genocide, Holocaust, apartheid and race, the stable opposed in South Africa. So it's promising. Writing against this colonial psychology, right? My criticism of my colleagues is, and my invitation, really, let me put it that way, I invite them, and more, it's happening slowly, says, we have to infuse then what we do in the community with the African-centeredness. What do I mean by this? I says, you have to be in the community to realize what they need. That if you give them these tools that support their mental health, they will not work as effectively as also you give the neighborhood, the community, the tools. And so you have a multidisciplinary team there. right? You need people who says, hey, by the way, I mentioned this. Let's plant some trees here. So horticulturalists, let's plant some trees here. Let's paint the walls. I mean, it's a simple thing. That if you pair this with the psychological work, then the progress becomes swifter, because you're injecting something, you're interrupting not just the psychological trauma in somebody's head, you're also interrupting it in the community.
This is Movie Turn. Leslie Mitchell reporting. Cecil Rhodes, the great empire builder, was born 100 years ago. He lies buried in the Matopo Hills in the Rhodesias, which are named after him. This was the country which he brought under the British Crown and formed into a British colony. Wild lands in the heart of Africa, which his vision pictured as the home of a thriving, prosperous people, but populated at that time only by wild beasts and roving tribes.
This man executed is incredible, but here he was celebrated. We come and we say, well, you are not the land, you are not the soul of the land. The soul in Greek is psyche, in Latin, anima. So the psychologists must study colonization clearly, because you don't just steal people's land, make money of exploiting them, killing them basically. You also do something to celebrate the death and the exploitation and the colonization. It's amazing that there's not enough, until recently in South Africa, work around the psychology of colonization of people like Rhodes. Isn't it incredible that people can buy the land? I mean, we take it for granted, but it is the most amazing thing. So we live in a world where people can take the land and say, I own part of the earth, instead of I'm a visitor, I'm passing through. But the land is living, but you can't really own the land. But capitalism has done this, colonization of the land, and capitalism have done this, that we start to believe that I own the land. It's incredible. And most of us believe this, that you can buy the land. And according to him, you don't just buy the land. Even when you're dead, your soul is joined to the land. But that's not just any joining, right? It is an ownership. Reading a little bit about him, he had immense fantasies, not just about ownership, but control. And of course, this is a representation of the love of Greek youth, male youth. And of course, there's something about sexuality right there. Not just control, because he's naked, right? I think Rhodes had this all kinds of fantasies about domination. And he pulls from European art to represent himself, or conquest, control. Look at the horse. It's powerful. When people go back to the land, they're not only going back because they want to be restituted for something that was stolen from them, but also because they have a connection, a social, psychological connection with the land, right? With the, if you're giving people houses, you are grounding them in a place, right? You're not just giving them a structure, you are giving them a certain permanency, and that is related to how then they feel more grounded in the world. And of course, if you give them good housing. You don't give them a two-room house where you give them good housing. You give them a street, you plant trees. You are giving them a certain sense then of being in place, and that this is my place. Nobody's gonna chase me out of this. So you can see that psychology doesn't exist. We are building it. We're building it right now. So it's not great that you have one person, Kopano or whoever it is, who has managed to overcome, because then you are either going to run away from this society, this neighborhood, and this is what happens, or you work with the community, with the society to say, well, if it's true that black is beautiful, it doesn't mean a black individual, it means black people. Working towards whiteness. A very tiny minority, like this woman here, Melissa Stein. Right, this is you might say this is the mother of whiteness studies in South Africa. It's because she realized about how whiteness is, the privilege of whiteness has to be interrupted. So you are writing against this whole library. So you can imagine writing one book about black people, and it's going to be one book. You fit it here against all of this. They don't see any problem. Let me take it to the top. In African social studies, I've never heard of this African sociology. Like, wow, okay. I wonder what is going to be good. So it's it's one of the few hidden things. Oh, wow. All right, that's good. So this is sociology now. It's a neighbor of psychology. The thing is this, so the people who do psychology don't talk to the people who do sociology, and they are close to each other. If you stick the psyche, you have to study the society. So I come here sometimes just to be surprised, and all the people are doing the work, and then I find something like this. So I'm glad. What we need, black people, and I said, of course, we need the other things to work. We call it self-service delivery, right? Basically, we need water, we need the electricity, we need food, that's an important part. But when it comes to the psyche, mental life, emotional life, you need this other resource people, skills, build skills in people about, all right, can we give psychological empowerment, therapeutic tools, healing tools, let's call them healing tools. When I say psychotherapeutic, people think I'm talking about psychotherapy, but healing in a broader sense that helps the mind to deal with adversity, to get stronger. And so when somebody's angering you, when somebody's bringing their own trauma, and over time you start to realize, right? You start to realize somebody is doing something that this is not about you. It's not about you. This is not about me. And especially if we have tried to bomb them with kindness. I say bomb is a bad word, but you just offer them like, I really am here, but you're not talking to me. You're talking to somebody else. I'm just standing in here in another person's place. Maybe it's your father, maybe it's your mother, but this is not about me. Because what I just said, I don't think this is the cause. But also, really forgive me. Forgive me because I seem to have hurt you. And I have triggered the humiliation, the disrespect, but forgive me. I admit I cut her head off. We have a problem here. This person who said I cut her head off, This is a deep issue. This is like a massive. So this person doesn't have, at a deep level, the resources to say, hey, you cutting somebody head off is like this is a deep stuff that only if you had prevented way before. If you don't have these resources to deal with the feelings of being hurt, the aggression, that's the rage, you end up killing the very people who are supposed to support you. And this would be your family. These are your children. These are people in the neighborhood. So you're taking out the hurt that you feel out on them. You are not going to take a bus to go to a white neighborhood. No, you will take it out on the black people close to you. Literally, it makes sense. Like you go to the nearest person who's weak, who is a potential victim, and they're the closest people. Right? You're walking the streets, you're walking in a field somewhere, you see somebody alone, and you pounce. Right? So you're taking out black men, taking out black women taking out black children or their partners. So the people closest to you are also the people you're most likely to hurt. And of course, you can multiply that in the violence. We take it out to the people who are geographically, but also psychologically and socially close to us. Right? So physically, people who are in your family, if you are an angry man, angry woman, you will take it out on them. The people in your neighborhood, you're an angry person, you will take out on them. The people who look like you, you take it out on them. In all kinds of ways.